didn't succeed for a variety of reasons. And no, it is not advertising. No, it isn't the unsupported competitive scene. It is much more than that, actually. It is way more complex and way more intricate and specifically way more ingrained into the inherent aspects of Strenova itself that caused Strenova to fail. First, let's give a little rebuttal to overall why it wasn't the advertising or the lack of a competitive scene. Advertising can only get you so far. Yes, it gives just a little seed, so that they could grow on their knowledge about Strenova, and then maybe they'll do something with that seed. Maybe they'll pluck a fruit out of that little plant, or a little banana from that tree, whatever, to eat, and then they eat and enjoy the game. They consume the game, quite literally in this metaphor, and they participate in the game. But the thing that keeps people from playing Strenova, what makes the player count so low, is not the fact that not that many people know about it, which, while still being a major factor, it is not the primary factor. The main thing that restrains Strenova is the fact that it can't keep people. When you play Strenova, you play it, and some people, especially if you're in the community now because of the survivorship paradox, if you play it now, it will be a game that you play all the time, constantly, with your friends, by yourself, whatever. Just constantly playing because you love the game. But at the start of any community cycle, at the start of any game, you have people that play frequently, semi-frequently, barely at all, and they just hop on once in a while when their friends ask them to. That is how a community starts. And over time, a community, through survivorship bias, like I've said, whittles itself down to the people who only play frequently. And that happens with a lot of communities. Obviously, you cut out the random ilk. You know, unless it is a very good game that warrants people to come back. And that is the main problem with Strenova, is that it does not keep people to continue playing, despite its gacha elements, despite some of the good aspects of game design it has. It is a game that does not promote people coming back to it in any meaningful way. You do not think about Strenova in the sense that, oh my god, what is this? You think about Strenova in the sense that, oh hey, I want that new Michelle Legendary skin that just dropped for the 1-year anniversary. You don't think, man, I can't wait for a new grenade type, or for them to finally add a map after a while, because they're not doing that, buddy. The shield bubble barely exists, and whatever, that's besides the point. Now, for the next part of the rebuttal, specifically about the competitive scene. You could have a successful game without a competitive scene in 2025, 2026, whenever this comes out. I'm recording this in December. Procrastinating on work, of course. You do not need that. You need people who have a reason to play. People who have the want to play. If your point of playing Strenova is so that you can climb the competitive ranks in-game and in the third-party scene, then fucking do it. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. That is a wonderful thing you should fucking do. But the thing is with a lot of games is that it does not appeal to the broader market. And that's a big aspect, especially with games that are meant to be, even if they're meant to be smaller, they should still appeal to as many people in that small reach of the community. And it does not do that at all. It does not appeal to that many people. It only appeals to a very small group, but that's going into the main subject matter of this video. But specifically now with competitive, why would you play? There's no rewards to it except a medal on your profile banner. That's cool, I guess. I mean, I was happy when I got my Quark medal in season 5, but that doesn't give anything tangible, right? Well, obviously it's an online game. It doesn't give anything tangible, but it doesn't give anything that fulfills you. All right, in a general sense. This obviously changes from person to person, obviously. I don't know. I like having a Quark little diamond whatever thing. I don't even know what the fuck this is. The color it has. I'm colorblind. I can't even tell what color it is. Anyways, it does not fulfill me. What do you get more from the challenge end of season rewards than what you get from the competitive rewards? Okay, you get a fucking figurine that you give to your favorite dormitory character for challenge, while in ranked you get a skin that you probably will never use, and maybe a medal sometimes, maybe, if you remember to claim it. And not only that, but competitive. Let's from a entertainment perspective, and now I'm talking about like uh entertainment as in like watching competitive games, the competitive scene, the competitive scene's dynamic, stuff like that, is only extremely appealing to the core player base and not to other groups of people who are curious about how the game works and stuff like that. Unless it is very simplistic, like Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike, you just click on bad guy, throw grenade to place, grenade does thing at place, and it is very simple and easy to pick up, which is the reason why people from even people who don't even play a game. I used to not even play Counter-Strike for like 5 years, not only because I had a shit computer, but because I wasn't really interested in Counter-Strike and the competitive scene as a whole. But I still watched majors. I still watched the competitive scene because it was very easy to understand and easy to pick up and put down at the same time. Very light, but when you pick it up and you pick a bite of your Counter-Strike sandwich, you get fulfilled, okay? When you watch a competitive Strenova tourney, like Strenova Saturdays was ended a while back, or I don't even know what the other ones are, Mighty Mouse Cup, you are not entertained because of the interesting gameplay or whatever. You're entertained because it's Strenova and you have bouncing titties on the screen. I think I could say that now. It's like 7 minutes in. It's because of the bouncing titties. It's because of the bouncing honka donka blanca on the screen, as well as because it is Strenova. It is your autistic hobby now, and you must cling on to it like the last few drops from your mother's teat after you're just become old enough to start eating actual food. That's what it's like. That is what watching competitive Strenova is like. It is not simple enough for random people to pick it up, and it is not simple enough for people to even get into the competitive scene. You need a competitive scene that is simple to understand at its core so that you could join it, or have a community that is based around that, which it isn't, by the way, because it's a shooter game, and a shooter game that appeals to Valorant and Apex players, and we all know that the IQs of those groups in particular are very low. But to counteract my example, Dota and League, those are really complex games. And they have really big communities and esports communities, but that's because they built those communities around that complexity. Now, if you go to Strenova, for example, where it's both simple and complex. Oh my god, I get to scan somebody if I press Q on my keyboard and I have wall hacks. That's cool. But when you add all these different elements, okay, I have the slow from the main Q, I have the slow from the Lawine Q, I have the blind from the Meredith Q, and then all this other shit. I have Celestia's ability Q, and then I have a Konami scan with the Awakening 2 or whatever the one that fucking makes it black and white. That one, then yeah, oh yeah, then that's just like a lot of stuff, and that's just like one general broad example, okay? And then it could get more complex than that. But in Counter-Strike, it's more like, oh, it's very intuitive, it's very grounded, and because it is grounded, it is very easy for people who do not understand anything about Counter-Strike to understand what is going on the screen. While in Strenova, it's lots of flashy lights. It has the same predicament as Overwatch, but that's a different point. Like I said in that miniature rant with the rebuttal, it is inherently flawed. Strenova is inherently flawed, and obviously not because of the mainstream things like Kiryu says. Now I sound like a fucking conspiracy theory. I don't care. It is because of the gameplay. Now I know all 5 remaining Strenova players are gonna be like, oh my god, he just said that. He said that about one of my favorite games of all time. Oh, woe is me. But yes, it is the gameplay. That's the reason why the game failed. Not because it is in particularly bad, even though in some elements it is, and I will cover that, but specifically because it doesn't appeal to a broad enough audience to generate any substance. Now you might rebuttal, say, oh, what about the Chinese version? It's China. That is a different demographic. We were talking about the global demographic, and in the global demographic, this kind of game will not survive. It will shrivel up and die like a raisin, and then, akin to a raisin, when I see it in my fucking lunchbox for school, I'm gonna be like, mother, why do you fucking hate me so much? And I'll throw it fucking away. Obviously, not telling that to my mom because I love my mother. Unlike, I know Strenova players don't even know what a mother is, but besides the point. It is the gameplay. Because let's think about the roots of Strenova, where it comes from, alright? Now we have two, fuck. Now let's think about where Supernova came from. It comes from two lineages, okay? We have the movement shooter genre on the left, which contributes the majority of the gameplay mechanics, specifically like shooting, movement, stuff like that. Well, obviously movement shooter, blah blah blah. That goes all the way back to like, it goes to Apex, then Titanfall, then Team Fortress, then Quake, then Half-Life. Okay, that's the lineage there. And then we have the other lineage, which involves almost purely inbreeding and immortality machines, which is tactical shooter. So we have, for our lineage here, it would be Rainbow Six Siege. So, Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, Counter-Strike 2, Counter-Strike Go, and then all the way back to Half-Life. Okay, that would be that lineage there. These two lineages have not intermingled for a very specific reason. Oh, I forgot to add Overwatch to the movement one. Whatever. Anyways, it's there. I begrudgingly add that there. There's a reason why these two don't intermingle, because they inherently conflict with each other. Well, okay, let's think about tactical shooters first, because that is what the game markets itself as a tactical shooter. One does not fulfill that requirement. Like, what the it is not a tactical shooter. It's only a tactical shooter because you plant a bomb and then the bomb go boom boom, and it has like a pseudo like terrorist anti-terrorism kind of thing like Counter-Strike. It really is. It really isn't, because this is how tactical shooters are characterized, okay? Generally to a public. And that is what matters. It does not matter if the gameplay is actually good. It is what people think is what they're going to get when they go into the game, because what they think is their expectations. And if their expectations are not fulfilled or not passed by, like it doesn't exceed expectations, then they will stop playing. In a tactical shooter, grounded movement, okay, so that's already against the movement shooter category, okay? Very, very low TTK, or a very fast, low TTK slash fast TTK, as in one tap guy in head, guy dies, like Counter-Strike, or Counter-Strike Valorant, okay, for you Valorant kiddos. And also, very grounded gameplay. What do you mean isn't grounded gameplay? There's nothing really out of the ordinary, except if you count Valorant. But, it's Valorant. It's like the odd kid at the back of the bus. They leave at the back of the bus so that they leave last. So that when you are on the bus and talking to everybody, you don't have to deal with them. Either at the very front, so they leave first, so you don't have to walk by them, or they're in the very back, so you don't have to listen to them, either or. Anyways, it's very grounded. What I mean, or I mean generally grounded. I know what the modernization, the flanderization of Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six, it is very hard to explicitly say that they're grounded, but they are generally grounded. Like it makes a lot of sense. It's very realistic. It has a lot of realism, even if it doesn't try to, or it's only a half-ass way to. For example, Counter-Strike with the recoil and crap. It's still gamey in a sense, but it's still like realistic in a fall pow kind of way. So we already have that for the tactical shooter part, and the grounded part is the only thing that really stays for Supernova, because it has the bomb planting stuff. But then it goes to then it goes to the movement shooter. It has wall running, it has gliding. It invented an entire new mechanic, sidestepping and paper mode, so that it's somewhat unique in this disgusting class-based, hero-based, whatever you fucking call it nowadays, landscape. And then it has a very long TTK, like a movement shooter, because you have to. It has Scout's fucking double jump. It has, like, what? Now, and it also has, like, sci-fi utility stuff, like the shield bubble from Halo, and then a fuck you to all you took all the Interceptor, and then we have and they have grounded stuff too, like smokes and flashes, and it's a weird, I don't even want to say honey, I don't even want to say a hot pot, or like a melting pot of ideas, but it is in a sense that, but because it is a melting pot, it melts through the bottom of the cauldron onto the floor, and then you can't eat it anymore. Oh, that rhymed. That's pretty cool. But now you can't eat it anymore because now it's spilled all over the floor, and you have to clean it up, and then you have to explain to your wife that has a fucking boyfriend, oh, hey, honey, I'm sorry, but I messed up the food, and then they fuck right in front of you. I don't fucking know. I don't know. It is a weird melting pot, because that dynamic just fails. It immediately fails. Now, Here's an example. Here's a prepared example because this is quite a lot of ranting. Here's like something I actually prepared beforehand. In a tactical shooter, there's a thing called a clutch. Now clutches in Supernova, they happen, right? They happen, but they happen way less frequently because of the movement shooter elements that are forced into a tactical shooter setting. For example, in Counter-Strike, if you are in a 1v3, you are expected to at least try to win. Try, and it could be possible to win because of this low/fast TTK. You could relatively one tap, all 0 millisecond kills and win. And similar to Supernova, you could do that, right? But it's way harder because of the longer TTK and the movement, and then the abilities. That's besides the abilities ones later. Okay, let's just focus on this. Because of the longer TTK, you can't do the one tap, and the armor regen too. It makes it impossible to do one tap, 3 people in a row, and you just die because you get rushed. Even if they are staggering, even if they are staggering, that's trickling into the site. Let's say it's like, clutch, defend the bomb against 3 enemy counter-terrorists for both Supernova and for Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike, you have a good possibility of winning if you use map knowledge and stuff like that. But in Supernova, you could try, but the main problem with a clutch in Supernova is the TTK. In the TTK, you are not expected to fight that many people because it is a movement shooter. After you do all your yoop and you're jumping around, you are not expected to fight another person because it's a movement shooter. The inherent aspects of a movement shooter go all the way back over to Quake, and that's 1v1s, man. And it evolved eventually into team fights. But the inherent part of movement shooters is that you fight one-on-one, and then the main point of team fights is, oh hey, we all fight one-on-one, and then we all interact with one-on-ones, and that's really fun. But in a clutch scenario where it's this one guy, it is impossible to one-shot kill everybody because that is not how movement shooters work. So it is impossible to clutch, and thus has no tension. If you have somebody feed in Supernova, it is no longer, oh man, we are a man down. It is, that sucks, but it's still possible. We just can't do trades anymore. Into, oh fuck, we are probably going to lose this round because we can't trade anymore. And a lot of movement shooters, because of how long TTKs are trades, because it takes so long to do it and to trade, and then you have to capitalize on the trade. That's a lot of time, and you can still trade. You can still trade lives in Counter-Strike, but it is way more important in Supernova because of the time to kill, and that just ruins everything. Now, another attack on gameplay. Abilities and util, specifically like depth, right? The depth of those things. Now, as a Team Fortress 2 / Quake purist, of course I will say pressing Q to do something or pressing right click to float is not cool. And I do see the general appeal and the noob friendliness to just having Q do something. But it is very saddening in a game where you already have quite a lot of mechanics, very simple, very mundane, and very generic, like, oh my god, I slow down people with a AoE, which is mean, like, one of the main characters in the entire fucking game. Like, oh, whoop-de-doo, it's so boring. It's kind of boring. Either way, yeah. It's very mundane, very simple. It is also very sad when the game actively kills tech. Like, in recent updates, now I know that Leona is a very bad character. I feel like anyone that isn't a Gooner does not enjoy the presence of a Leona in the game or in their team in a match. Primarily because, in my opinion, she's one of the worst characters in the game, especially if you know how to interact with her. But it is very depressing, even though a character has so much uniqueness, right? It's literally fucking Minecraft. Like, how can you fuck up making Minecraft in a shooter? Like, how? It's just doing Fortnite with blocks. Like, Fortnite's already a tried and tested gameplay formula, and somehow you fuck it up. It's very sad when you have something cool like, what is it? I think it's the A3. Yeah, was it the A3 or the A2? I think it was the A2, where Leona's blocks can push people because there is so many creative and interesting lineups people made to make sure that they can't do anything about it, because they could have a lineup where, let's say, was it B site? Yeah, B site, Windy Town, right? You could have a perfect lineup where Leona can deny a bomb plant with her Q, and they can't really do that much about it. And that's really fucking cool. That's interesting. That's an interesting interaction, and they removed it because no one used it, even though it was one of the only aspects of skill expression in the entire fucking game. They removed it. Okay, another example: Yvette Awakenings, right? Now, this is a personal peeve. Obviously, I'm a Yvette player, so, that's why I'm making this video in the first place, because apparently Yvette players don't have souls. But Yvette used to have a really cool awakening, A3. A3 would let you have Faye charge automatically for you, and then they reworked it so that it only slams onto the ground. Not only does this prevent Yvette from actually interacting in the fucking game, but it also prevents Yvette to be interacting. Well, yeah, like I said, it prevents Yvette actually being in the game, because you have to go into queue, then you have to place the charge, and then you have to charge, then you have to get out of queue, see if it's still actually landed, then you go, then you reposition bear, and it's like, you're playing two characters. You're playing literally two characters as Yvette, so that's cool. But at the same time, now you remove a really interesting, unique mechanic where it charges by itself into a very milk toast mechanic with no interest, no intrigue. What's the point? Because the only time you do that is if you charge in, place the bear, and then you fight. But that's still a very niche scenario from a build awakening that used to be very universal to a very niche scenario, as well as it's kind of dumb. Just shoot the fucking bad guy at that point, It was like, eh. And then, like, there's scenarios, like, for using Windy Town as an example again, like at mid right side for CT, place bear preemptively and it auto slams. But overall, there's nothing interesting with Faye, with Yvette's bear, with Yvette's Q, when it comes to the A3 anymore. Like, there used to be lineups, like with Leona, there used to be lineups where the bear would charge automatically, where it would detect, where it would deny, bomb. She's so unique, so dynamic, but now it doesn't exist anymore. Now, for the final nail in the coffin, for specifically the lack of depth in the game, I would talk about armor stacking specifically. That used to be very interesting. Armor stacking used to be very cool. Oh, hey, I'm a Celestia. I'm going to trade in my ability to sustain people over multiple fights for one guaranteed fight, which is not really guaranteed because there's an armor cap, even though I can stack my armor. And it decays over time, which means that you have to use it now. You can't waste it at the start of the round, right? So there's timing, and there is consequence to actions. But now, oh, sorry, I have to give it to everybody now. That's just how it works. I just have to give it to everybody. Bye bye. I mean, it still could do the previous tech where you could have one guy be a super tank as Ming and just have a lot of armor on them, but now it's way more complex. And while complexity isn't inherently a bad thing, in this specific scenario, it removes an entire different subclass of playstyle. Right? It removes an entire different type of strategy. What's the point removing strategies like that? When you play a game like a quote unquote tactical shooter, you are meant to have as much strategy as possible so you can be creative with it, but you cannot be creative with it if you have no tools. How could I be creative and make a house if you only give me a hammer when I also need a saw? I need fucking nails for the hammer. I need a screwdriver for screws. Like, what? I can't make you the fucking Mona Lisa if you only give me a pencil. I could do a sketch, but I can't draw the colors. I could do shading, but I could just I could do hatching, but I can't. I cannot replicate the Mona Lisa fully if you don't give me the tools to, and that's what it feels like in the game. Is that it's just clipping people's wings. It clips people's wings. That's what it fucking feels like. This goes all the way back to like my video on Galatea, where it was a change that restrained people, and that's what I dislike, is that it restrained people. It forced people into a bottleneck scenario where this is how you have to play Galatea. Because you have to be close range now. You can't be long range. You can't have that dynamic interaction with snipers anymore. It's either I'm gonna be fighting the sniper. Oh, maybe I'm distracted the sniper, but you can't just distract the sniper. Like there's nothing of substance anymore when it comes to Galatea. Even though like they did some changes that are kind of fitting, like giving more armor, but that's not even the point. The point is that you're a dynamic movement character that goes zoop 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 zoop. Not that you can tank armor. It just makes sure that Galateas don't get punished too much, and it promotes a aggressive Galatea playstyle. Even though we'll see, it promotes an aggressive playstyle where you have to use the armor before it runs out. Sorry, or else you remove that one extra hit that may or may not be at most like a fifth of a second of time. You have to be aggressive now as Galatea. There's no like waiting. There's no like, well, you can still lurk, but that's not the preferred playstyle according to the devs. That's not the preferred playstyle. Not anymore. Not anymore. Apparently, like what? This is all compounded with the lack of care for the community way of thing. The TTK I have counted for every single character, like massive reworks, as in like every single gun changed, every single character's HP changed, massive reforms to everything has happened 4 fucking times. And you can see the history of it. You can see the history of the fucking TTK spreadsheet that I was maintaining that I've been maintaining for a year, like the year of the entirety of Stranova's lifespan, and it's fucking insane. I mean, the older iterations have calculations errors, I will admit, but it is insane how many times they've changed it. Like, they changed it for when Yagiri came out, for when Mara came out, they changed it to where, remember the change when they removed light armor, no armor as a concept technically, and this made it the same amount of armor as light armor by default, making the first round's unique TTK utterly fucking worthless, and promoted every single round to just feel the same. What about the several times they try to make heavy armor viable? No one runs heavy armor unless they have to for like a specific character, but they keep trying to make heavy armor viable. What's up with that? There's also the 30 HP added onto the end of each character for the Mara rework, for like the introduction of Mara. Like, you don't need to rework your entire system, like your entire HP and armor system, just for one fucking character. That talks more about the character than the system, man. Like, what? And then let's also go with another thing with TTK specifically. Unique character buys. Did you know that in Season 1, Yvette could have 42 bullets in her magazine as an upgrade? That was stupid, but it was indeed very funny. But this extended to almost every other character. For example, Slugs. Remember Slugmo? Remember, like, Slug Ica? That shit was fucking fun, man. That shit was cool. That shit was interesting. That shit reworked how you played those characters in a unique and interesting way, and they removed it. Why? I don't fucking know. What about, there's also like more for like like they keep tweaking the upgrade system. Why are you constantly tweaking the upgrade system? Just keep it the same because it works. But you don't need to change the inherent aspects of the game to keep it interesting. Well, at least you shouldn't have, or at least you shouldn't have to. But apparently that's what has to be done to keep players engaged for a game like this. You need your game to be inherently enjoyable to a lot of people, and also give them a reason to come back that isn't some arbitrary thing like a fucking loot box system. Oh wait, or a battle pass system. Oh wait, or dailies. Oh yeah, dailies. Oh yeah. So you see what I mean? Or the fact that you will lose your union if you don't log in. Like, what the fuck is that? Not only that, like, let's think about more about skill expression in the leaks from China servers. Guess what's happening to Bible and Ica, baby? No more headshot damage, no more leg shot damage. Which means that I have to rework my formulas again and my spreadsheet again, which I won't because I'm not updating that shit anymore. Fuck that. But wow, wow, boy, that's not good. That's just remove skill expression again. Why do you why do you do this? Why do you do this to me? Why do you do this to the community? Like, that is kind of like ad hominem, but what's the fucking point? Like, no more skill expression apparently. Even though skill expression is like the entire point you play games like this, is so that you could be like a unique individual person with how you play. But now, if you look at somebody at the competitive level, they all play the exact same because not only meta, but because there is literally only one way to play every single character. Not only that, but let's think about what I've said, right? Why are we reworking everything? Don't rework everything. Don't change. Don't do radical changes. Just keep things the way they are so that we can enjoy them how they are. We don't need a major rework to see how the game feels after every season. No, we don't need that. We just need new content that adds upon that, right? So we have two levels of content, right? We have two aspects of game design, right? Inherent game design, intrinsic, right? It's intrinsic and inherent. It is the core aspect of the gameplay, right? And then we have additional modifiers to the game design, which give a twist to it. Inherent game design for Supernova would be the movement and the shooting. The thing that would change, right? The things that would change how you interact with those mechanics would be like maps and stuff like that. Where, oh, and the new map makes me interact with the game a different way unless it's fucking Orcarnus. But speaking of which, hey game, hey Dream Sky, I'm talking to you now. Where's our new map? Where's our new map for ranked and challenge for demolition? Why are you making new outbreak and escort maps even though no one plays those modes? Why? Those are literally filled with bots and then Team Fortress rejects. Like, Team Fortress and Overwatch reject. How the fuck can you be a Team Fortress and Overwatch reject? Like, what? Speaking of which, you think that characters, like individual abilities and stuff, would be a secondary game design aspect, but it's really a primary one because they directly interact with your movement and stuff. While you have the inherent aspects of game design like shooting and movement, right? The things you do those through are through characters, and the things you do those through on top of are maps. So that's a little difference there, okay? And the new characters are either really good or really fucking bad. Uh, Good characters. Yuri, Chio, Mara. I have this as a list. Um, Chio meta almost immediately out of the gate. Didn't even have to have a rework right after it was made. So right after they came out. Wow, surprise, surprise. And also duelists. I mean, I don't see them actually adding any new characters that aren't duelists or controllers because every single time they haven't done those, they've done really, really poorly. But we'll talk about it a bit. Mara, literally the best character in the game, by the way. What the fuck is up with that? Yagiri, another new character in the eyes of Global, replaces Yvette, by the way. And Yvette is kind of a mainstay of the defense scenes, so being able to swap Yvette with a different character is kind of a big deal, in my opinion. Right? And then those are the good ones, the good new characters, right? They're really good, really good, and they do kind of change the meta in an interesting and unique way, which is honestly quite admirable, because that's constructed, that's new. Even though one is extremely broken, one is kind of just Flavia at a distance, and one of them is just Yvette in a different outfit and with a different gun, inherently speaking. And also they're and also they are all re-implements of previous guns in the game. Maddie's DMR, Yvette's SMG, and what is it? And Meredith's uh, AR. Like it's literally just it's just flipped of those, and even though Chio's is faster fire rate, that's beside the point. Worst characters now. Galatea and Leona. Like I said with Galatea, Galatea is a really good character in the right hands, has a really high skill ceiling, really high skill floor as well. Like it's really hard to get not Leona, into Galatea. The problem with Galatea is her role. She's very powerful in a sense, but I would rather have a Ming controlling that guy, like a Ming get controlled by the same player than have that player controlling Galatea kind of deal, right? And then I'm skimming, right? It feels like a skim, but that's kind of there's no way There's no other way to concisely put it without me talking for like 5 years, because I already talked at length about the state of Galatea and how it genuinely depresses me at times. But besides the point, Leona, like I said, no new tech, uh, quite boring most of the time, and also her gun is this kind of shit. uh, uh, to put it lightly, it is the worst gun in the game, statistically, and you feel it. You could feel how bad Leona's gun is when you use Leona. Because of its spread, its fire rate, its damage. Literally every aspect of Leona's gun is really bad. Okay, here's an example, alright? If Mara fights a Nobunaga with Nobunaga's Awakening 1 and heavy armor, it would take 3/4 of a second. If you fought Nobunaga as Leona somehow, this is for a point of reference, okay? I mean, it's an extreme, but it's a point of reference. If you fought Nobunaga as a Leona, body shots only. By the way, previous one is also only body shots, for reference. Body shots only with the Nobunaga with heavy armor and Awakening 1, it would take 1.25 seconds. By the way, if you don't know, the Ember Spit 0 to 250, that's heavy armor. And a standard HP and armor character would be a second and a half. A second and a half. That's the Ember Spit. The fucking Ember Spit. Okay, so that gives you a point of reference there about how bad Leona's gun is and how it encroaches on everything. So it's like, no. Nope. So, I mean, a 60% success rate is okay, even though a lot of them are reskins of existing guns.
Apparently, I was using my Logitech webcam microphone this entire time instead of my actual, not even, I don't even want to say professional, it's not professional, microphone this entire time. I'm not re-recording though, so fuck that. So here's the audio difference. Let's just also go back to the broad sense of Stranova, okay? From an outsider's perspective, because that's what we really should look at it from right now, especially if we're considering why people play and why people come to the game in the first place, okay? What the fuck distinguishes Stranova from the rest of, I hate using this phrase, anime slop on the market? What distinguishes it? Paper mode? That's about it. So you can stick to walls. That's it. It is quite generic and quite hard to distinguish enemies at times. Maybe it's my fucking shit Asian eyes, but I mean, in general, the art style in gaming has kind of been on a downwards trend, and Stranova evidently is part of that trend, but that doesn't excuse it from being part of the trend. It should be an outlier, not part of the horde, right? Part of the crowd. It should be distinguished, and it should be distinguished and distinguishable, and it is neither. It is a generic anime game, and I mean, it appeals to people, especially the Gooners, which are like half of the player base at this point, because how else are they gonna beat it if they have to go to a different website? No, you just play the game, and then you can beat it, right? They can, after you immediately run into like the entire enemy team and die. I mean, that's what they do. So like, it is, from a visual standpoint, nothing out of the ordinary, and thus very hard to selectively get out and pick from a visual subset, especially if you are unfamiliar with the game. If you put it next to like the rest of the anime shell, fucking speech impediment coming back. If you try to distinguish it and take it and pick it out of the rest of the shell shaded anime art style ish 3D model community, you will not find it. Especially if you will not find it, and it is indistinguishable. And because of the lack of brand recognition, except every single fucking time Dream Sky slaps Michelle onto the front of every single damn piece of Stranova media, you will not be able to distinguish it from any other piece of anime media. And even still, let's say you recognize it because of Michelle, because Michelle's a very prominent character, and CN really likes Michelle. Wow, a blonde, blue eyes, pigtails girl. I could pick out at least a dozen off the top of my head. with that archetype alone in the anime sphere, and thus makes it very hard to figure out who it is. Especially from like art and not like from direct pictures from the game. And not only does that not help, but it also is compounded with the setting, the story, kind of like Valorant's, where I don't know what the fuck its story is, and I am not bothered to figure it out. I think I even watched a lore video and then I don't even remember. That's how forgettable Valorant lore was. Even in Stranova's lore, I don't even know what the fuck is going on. And I have a bachelor's in chem. And it talks about string theory, and I know a little bit about quantum mechanics and quantum theory. That's the only aspect of the lore that is somewhat tangible in my mind, is that it talks about string theory. And how that involves quantum mechanics and subatomic particles and stuff, but that is the only thing that I can get out of it. That's the only thing I can get out of it. It is quite ridiculous. But did you know, I was today years old when I learned that Maddie, Madalena, and Galatea are siblings, right? Even like some people I know didn't even know either, and I'm like, well, this is like quite big. What the fuck? What is this lore? Why is this lore? No, it is so reductive, especially when you're trying so hard to become mainstream and to be something people are interested in. But it is just another shot at the moon, and they miss. And while it's nice to shoot for the moon, at least to land in the middle of the stars, right? At least land on a star or something. At least shoot for the moon, land in the stars. But you don't even land in the stars, you land in this really dark spot, and then you figure out that dark spot is a black hole, and then you get sucked into a black hole, spaghettify, and die. Feedback is greatly appreciated. The thumbnail is made by me, obviously, in my beautiful Blender, my beautiful Blender skills I did by myself, obviously. It's beautiful. Please look at it. And also, I don't know when I'm posting this, but Yvette figurines. I'm currently advertising them, I think, at this moment. But if there is not an advertisement and it is past season 6, then it will be showcased on screen as well in the thumbnail of the Yvette figurine collection I got. Hey guys, just came out of the war, but help! Help me! Okay, we're fine. No, we're fine, right, guys? Help me! Oh shit. Chat, we might be a little cooked. Okay, I nade stacked and no one was here. I'm fine. Gala's gonna be here. Gala's here.
They're all here!
Yo, can y'all stop body blocking me? That'd be pretty far. Behind you.
Hit the Richie with the sword.
Oh, I'm gonna die. Never mind, I don't die. I never die! I never die! Give me that booty! Give me that batty booty! Oh yeah! Oh yeah, the head too! Oh yeah! Oh wait, the bomb's down! Oh my god! Oops! No way!
I thought you were unironically.
I thought they didn't plan! I thought they didn't plan! I didn't hear the
It's a match report button.